This presentation will focus on response to intervention in Colorado. The response to intervention process is founded on the belief that many children receive intervention for their behavioral or academic problems too late, and early intervention can prevent delays and reduce the severity of developmental problems. The idea of early intervention as prevention. Response to intervention, heretofore known as RTI, is a multi-tiered approach to instruction that uses a systematic problem-solving approach that focuses on students' response to those interventions as a basis for determining their instructional needs and intensity. The purpose of RTI is to improve educational outcomes for all students. Essential components of RTI include the use of multiple tiers of instruction with increasing levels of intensity and duration, reliance on evidence-based practices in all tiers, use of monitoring to determine if students are making progress, and a problem-solving approach to determine the most appropriate level of intervention for individual students. This provides a seamless system of interventions and resources for children at risk of failures or those who are gifted and talented. It emphasizes pre-referral prevention and intervention, provides resources for students in need of academic and/or behavior support, and does not wait for children to fail before providing necessary services and support. The Colorado Department of Education lists several core principles related to RTI, believing that all children can learn and achieve high standards as a result of effective teaching. All students must have access to a rigorous standards-based curriculum and research-based instruction. Intervening at the earliest indication of need is necessary for student success. A comprehensive system of tiered interventions is essential for addressing the full range of student needs. Student results improve when ongoing academic and behavioral performance data inform instructional decisions. Collaboration among educators, families, and community members is the foundation for effective problem solving and instructional decision making. Ongoing and meaningful involvement of families increases student success. All members of the school community must continue to gain knowledge and develop expertise in order to build capacity and sustainability of RTI. Effective leadership at all levels is crucial for the implementation of RTI. RTI is a multi-tiered model of instruction and intervention. We'll discuss more about this later, but this is the overall model. The Colorado Department of Education recognizes 6 areas significant to RTI implementation: leadership, curriculum and instruction, positive school climate and culture, problem-solving process, assessment and progress monitoring, and family and community engagement. Because of the broad impact of the RTI model and its impact on the entire educational system, significant systematic changes need to occur to execute the implementation of RTI with fidelity. District and school leadership is imperative to the sustainability of the model. RTI is a 3-tiered system designed to meet the needs of all students. Curriculum based on the state standards and quality instruction are essential for student success. Tier 1, the universal level, refers to high-quality, research-based curriculum and instructional strategies that support the district's curriculum guidelines. This universal level of instruction should meet the needs of at least 80% of the students. Tier 1 also includes universal supports that are available to all students in academics and behavior. Teachers' strategies may include small groups, differentiated instruction for application of skills and concept formation, reteaching, enrichment, and/or additional practice. Teachers may change their method of instruction, provide the child with additional help, as well as provide accommodations and modifications. Tier 2 is the targeted level, including individualized, targeted supports and supplemental curriculum for students with more significant academic or behavior concerns or who have been identified as not progressing as expected in Tier 1. If a student continues to demonstrate insufficient progress and the gap between the student's achievement and expected achievement increases, a more intensive intervention plan can be put in place with the assistance of the problem-solving team through data-driven dialogue. Evidence-based instructional strategies and strengths-based interventions in Tier 2 are developed based on the student's specific learning and/or behavioral needs, cultural environment, English language acquisition, etc. Multiple school personnel can provide the interventions to the students, including the classroom teacher, intervention specialist, related service providers, or other staff. Tier 3 provides intensive, individualized supports for students with intensive academic needs or behavior challenges who require the most intensive services available at the school. Moving to a Tier 3 intervention is determined by the problem-solving team after several individualized interventions have resulted in limited progress based on the achievement gap between the student's progress and the expected benchmark. The interventions in Tier 3 are skill-specific interventions that can be delivered by a variety of providers. They increase in intensity and often require one-on-one or small group instruction. The specific nature of the interventions is based on progress monitoring data and/or diagnostic assessment information. Interventions in this level are more likely to occur outside the general classroom than at the two previous levels. It may even require that students have a separate curriculum that is focused on accelerating learning for students who demonstrate exceptional knowledge and skills. Positive school climate depends on 4 essential elements: creating a caring school community, teaching appropriate behavior and social problem-solving skills, implementing positive behavior support, and providing rigorous academic instruction. A positive school climate is observed when key elements are solidly in place, including defining and consistently teaching expectations of behavior for students, parents, and educators. Students and adults are acknowledged and recognized consistently for appropriate behavior. Behavioral and instructional errors are monitored, corrected, or retaught. Teachers are engaged in a collaborative team problem-solving process using data to design instruction and behavior intervention plans. Families are included in a culturally sensitive, solution-focused approach to support student learning. The purpose of the problem-solving process is to assist the classroom teacher and parents in designing and selecting strategies for improving student academic and/or behavior performance. The team must integrate the use of data, both to guide the development of effective interventions and to provide frequent monitoring of progress. Teams are composed of a variety of educational staff, including teachers, specialists, administrators, and parents. Team memberships should include individuals who have a diverse set of skills and expertise that can address a variety of behavioral and academic needs. The team should also be collegial in that teachers are supported and encouraged throughout the process. Problem-solving teams should identify a facilitator who guides the process and ensures a supportive atmosphere. Designated consultants or case managers are essential to follow-through of problem-solving teams. This slide represents the problem-solving process. The problem should be stated in objective, measurable terms using direct measures of academics or behavior. The definition of the problem must focus on teachable skills that can be measured and that can be changed through the process of instruction. It is also important to understand whether the identified problem exists for only one student, a small group of students, or a large group of students, since this knowledge will lead to different types of interventions. For large group problems, changes in overall curriculum and instruction may be necessary, and problem solving is then conducted on a large scale. On the other hand, if a problem is present for only one or a very few students, individual problem solving can take place. Analyzing the problem. The goal of problem analysis is to answer the question, why is this problem occurring? During this step, the relevant information about the problem is gathered and considered. Potential hypotheses about the probable causes of the problem are described, and information is gathered to either confirm or disprove the hypotheses. The goal of step 3 is to develop an instructional intervention plan that matches the identified student need and has the most likelihood of success. A good intervention plan explicitly defines the skill to be taught, focuses on measurable objectives, defines who will complete various tasks, when and how, describes a plan for measuring and monitoring effectiveness of instructional efforts, including a quantifiable baseline and target goal for the skill to be developed, and reflects the resources available. The plan also must be monitored for fidelity of implementation. Therefore, the team must specify who will do this and how often. Progress monitoring measures the effectiveness of an intervention. The goal of progress monitoring is to answer the question, is the intervention working? If an intervention is not delivering the desired results, the intervention should be changed. Thus, a key feature of the methods used to collect data is that they can be administered frequently and are sensitive to small changes in skill levels. If an intervention is not producing the desired results, a first step is to evaluate whether the intervention is being implemented as designed. If not, adjustments should be made to ensure treatment integrity. Teams should also consider whether the intensity of an intervention needs to be increased by either reducing the size of the group, increasing the amount of time or frequency that the intervention is delivered, or narrowing the focus of the intervention. A problem-solving process requires full collaboration among a team of professionals, along with parents, to identify a specific measurable outcome and to design research-based interventions to address the concerns. A major feature of the RTI model is its use of data to drive the decision-making process at the individual student classroom, and school levels. An effective assessment plan has 4 main objectives: to identify students at the beginning of the year who are at risk or who are experiencing difficulties and who may need extra instruction or intensive interventions if they are to progress toward grade level standards by the end of the year, as well as students who have reached benchmarks and who need to be challenged. To monitor students' progress during the year to determine whether at-risk students are making adequate progress in critical skills, and to identify any students who may be falling behind or need to be challenged. To inform instructional planning in order to meet the most critical needs of individual students, and to evaluate whether the instruction or intervention provided is powerful enough to help all students achieve grade level standards by the end of each year. Screening assessments are quick and efficient measures of overall ability and critical skills known to be strong indicators that predict student performance. Administered to all students as an initial baseline, these assessments help to identify students who do not meet grade level expectations and are at risk for academic difficulties because they are lagging in the development of critical academic skills, or students who have exceeded benchmarks and need a challenge. Results can be used as a starting point for instruction or to indicate a need for further evaluation. Progress monitoring assessments are also brief, but are given periodically to determine whether students are making adequate progress. Progress monitoring assessment data should be collected, evaluated, and used on an ongoing basis. While relatively lengthy, diagnostic assessments provide in-depth, reliable assessment of targeted skills. Their major purpose is to provide information for planning more effective instruction and interventions. Given at the end of the school year, outcome assessments are frequently group-administered tests of important outcomes, such as the CSAP. Outcome assessments are often used for school, district, or state reporting purposes. They give school leaders and teachers feedback about the overall effectiveness of their instructional program. Progress monitoring varies in the RTI tiers. Assessment in Tier 1 includes universal screening and benchmark testing for all students. Data informs instruction, but less frequently, typically 3 times a year. This is enough monitoring for 80 to 90% of students. Assessment is more intense and focused in Tier 2, for about 5 to 10% of students. Assessments given need to be based on specific skill, and the results of the assessment should lead directly to intervention. Once an intervention is in place, the response to intervention needs to be monitored on a regular basis, usually about every other week at least. If the academic or behavior need is difficult to identify, a diagnostic assessment may be necessary to determine the focus of the intervention. The intensity of an assessment increases in Tier 3, used for about 1 to 5% of students. Because of the urgency at this level, the response to intervention is monitored more frequently, several times per week. Diagnostic assessments may be given to get a comprehensive look at the student's strengths and areas of need. The major purpose of assessment in Tier 3 is to provide information on how to meet the student's instructional need. When families, schools, and communities work together, children are more successful in school and schools improved. Effective partnerships include parents, families, students, community members, and educators. Indicators of an effective partnership include sharing information, problem solving, and celebrating student successes. Central to effective partnership is the recognition of shared responsibility and ownership of student challenges and successes. Parents and families are seen as key partners in all aspects of RTI, but their role may shift at each tier of intervention. In particular, at the targeted Tier 2 and intensive Tier 3 levels, their expertise regarding the individual student is vital. At these tiers, members of the student's family may provide information about the student and strategies that will lead to improved student outcomes. Understanding and respect for cultural differences is also vital when attempting to encourage families and to foster community support. There are some misconceptions about RTI. Thinking that RTI replaces special education and its procedural safeguards. RTI does not replace existing systems for evaluating or determining eligibility for special education services and procedural safeguards. Children with disabilities can be found at all tiers, not just Tier 3. And the focus is on learning or behavioral problems, not just on preventing learning disabilities and not just behavior problems and behavior challenges, but focusing on all of them and prevention. For a variety of reasons, young children entering preschool may not have had the opportunities needed at home or in childcare to learn the language, early literacy, and social emotional regulation skills expected. Preschool RTI promises a means of preventing these early delays from becoming learning disability. Consider Taishan, whose progress learning language and early literacy skills was the typical pattern until 50 months of age, 4 years, 2 months, when suddenly he slowed down compared to other children his age. Because Taishan's progress was frequently monitored, that information alerted his teacher that he was falling behind and could benefit right away from an extra level of intensive early literacy intervention. Based on these results and discussion with the school's early literacy team, his daily schedule was changed to include the instruction he was receiving in the general curriculum, plus an additional 30-minute session, Tier 2 instruction, focused on building his phonemic awareness skills. Additionally, weekly progress monitoring was added to assess Taishan's response to this intervention. After 10 weeks, he had made sufficient measurable progress toward benchmarks that the decision was made he no longer needed this extra level of service. RTI in preschool is grounded in our greater knowledge from brain science and early childhood research that early learning in young children sets the path toward readiness for kindergarten and subsequent school success. RTI enables elementary education to intervene earlier than ever to prevent initial delays from becoming disabilities starting as early as kindergarten. Early childhood culture, beliefs, and practices focus on the importance of supporting the family as well as the child. These beliefs and practices must be honored as RTI is applied to preschool children. Core early childhood beliefs that shape the application of RTI in pre-K settings include the following. The essential components of pre-K RTI are high-quality classroom instruction that includes the use of learning standards to guide instruction and the use of intentional teaching methods that include embedded and explicit instruction. Tiered instruction intervention. Tiered approaches allow the intensity of supports and services to increase as the intensity of the child's need increases. Because the intensity of time, effort, and resources matches the intensity of the specific needs shown by the child. Ongoing student assessment and progress monitoring. As we talked before, this includes universal screening conducted with all children to provide a quick checkpoint to determine if the child's development is on target. Screening permits the early identification of children who may require additional supports and services, and determines when additional assessments are required to plan the appropriate supports and services. Assessments in early childhood must yield a clear understanding of a child's strengths and needs within his or her everyday learning experiences and environments. The use of authentic assessments, observation rating scales, and work samples provides insights into how the child thinks, functions, and responds to learning opportunities. Progress monitoring tracks the child's responsiveness over time and provides ongoing information about the intensity of supports and services each child needs to be successful. Family involvement. The engagement of parents as partners must begin at the earliest possible point because parents are essential to the success of children. Parents know their child's strengths and needs within the context of home, neighborhood, and community. Parent participation allows other team members to learn about the child from the parent's perspective. Understanding the family's values, beliefs, and desires allows educators to shape the supports and services appropriately. The problem-solving method for decision-making fits well with early childhood educational philosophies. The problem-solving method moves through several phases that typically include defining the problem, analyzing the problem to determine why it's occurring, developing a support plan, and implementing the support plan while monitoring its effectiveness. In Colorado pre-K RTI model, Tier 1 children all receive a high-quality research-based curriculum which comprises the core instruction. Universal screening and progress monitoring measures are administered to each child and used as a baseline to guide instruction. Provide information about children who begin the school at risk for language and emergent literacy difficulties, identify children who would benefit from additional support, and provide an ongoing review of children's learning to support their further development. In Tier 2, more individualized and intensive instruction is provided to children whose performance data indicate the need for additional support. Progress monitoring is used in conjunction with the collaborative problem-solving process to guide and refine interventions. Parents and family members are included as part of the collaborative problem-solving team. Multiple school personnel can provide Tier 2 instruction, including the classroom teacher, special educators, related service providers, or other staff. Tier 3 instructional supports are provided to children who show the need for more intensive and targeted supports and adaptations. The services are more individualized, generally of greater frequency, and may include one-on-one interventions with the child. The child's progress is monitored more often and based on decision-making determinations of the problem-solving team, and may involve the administration of a diagnostic assessments to carefully examine the child's specific strengths and areas of need. To assume that Tier 3 is for special education is incorrect. In RTI, children with disabilities of all kinds are expected to be represented in all tiers of interventions, as are children without individualized education programs. The special education referral can occur after interventions at all 3 levels or upon request. RTI is implemented through local partnerships between schools. Head Start programs and child care programs in approximately 10 to 15 of the 178 districts or groups of large and small school districts in Colorado. Approximately half have been engaged in its implementation for 5 to 7 years, with the remaining half for about 3 to 5 years. So, pre-K implementation is in an early developmental phase in an additional 20 to 30 districts in Colorado. In Tier 1, all districts use one of 3 statewide approved measures: creative curriculum, the core, or work sampling, and documentation is required at 3 points during the school year. There's systematic use of universal assessment data and progress monitoring to inform decision making, and varies between agencies and problem-solving teams. The main challenges for full-scale implementation of preschool RTI are projected to be resources for sufficient personnel and funding to build the necessary infrastructure. There's a need for professional development from pre-service through in-service, and an implementation of a universal assessment system and the available of educational and related service professions continues to be a challenge. Finally, state-adopted preschool standards are currently under State Board of Education and legislative review, and they will be formalized and aligned with K-2 standards, which are already in place. Once standards are in place, a realistic timeline for statewide implementation of pre-K RTI is 3 to 5 years.